Hello, fantasy sports fanatics. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. This is Take Your Pick. Each of our hosts pick fantasy football players outside of the top 24 top-ranked wide receivers and running backs according to 180 fantasy experts. And for quarterbacks and tight ends, we choose outside of the top 12 ranked players. We review our successes and failures from the week before and make picks for the coming week. If you're new to our show, click subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Comment below and it may be featured on our next episode. Okay, guys, first things first, we're going to talk about how we did last week. Do you guys even remember who you picked? Lauren, you're our resident memory in this regard.
I remember who I picked. I remember who I picked, Dan. I don't remember who anyone else picked this time.
Oh, well, who did you pick?
Oh, I picked Marvin Jones, and I'll make this pretty quick here. He did not produce. He went 4 for like 48. I thought that he would do better. No touchdowns, even though, Detroit was playing from behind. So, it wasn't good for me this week.
It was one of those weeks.
It was one of those weeks.
Okay, Casey, do you remember who you had?
Well, considering I don't think I've picked since week 10, I had Wayne Gallman last, and he scored. But that was a long time ago, so I don't know if it still counts.
Yeah, but I like how you're trying to back into it. I mean, and that was very smart. That's right. You have been missing from Take Your Pick. We are glad to have you back.
Oh,
Ross,
it's a pleasure.
Who was your pick last week?
I took, because he played an early game, and he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, I took the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, 2 touchdowns, 200 yards, I think, close to it. It's good enough. And the Cowboys, they won the game. The Red Rocket is unbelievable on these games that are during the day, that don't really matter. No one's really watching. He's the best. I'll take that. 2 touchdowns from him. That's a good game.
You've got the rules down, the Dalton rules. I had Gabriel Davis. I went with him for the second straight week. He delivered a touchdown again. His numbers do look a little skewed because his yards were short, but he had a long catch. He just couldn't get his feet in bounds. And whose fault is that? Probably Gabriel Davis. But even so, I had the better Buffalo Bill pick at wide receiver than Andrew, and I'm ready to rub it in his face when he arrives. But we're not calling him in yet. We're going to make our picks for next week. I thought there were a lot of they seemed easy to me this week, which probably means I got it wrong. So, Ross, who do you have this week?
I go first. I'm very impressed. Thank you for letting me go first, so no one can steal my idea. So this week, I am going with an Indianapolis Colt. I feel Rivers is playing great. He looks good the past few weeks with T.Y. Hilton. I can't take T.Y. because he's not in the bottom. He's in the top 25, so I can't take him. I'm taking Michael Pittman Jr., the University of Southern California guy that graduated. I'm taking him this week. I feel he's going to have a huge week. Michael Pittman's my pick. Beat me at that.
Nice job. Okay, Casey, let's go with you next.
I'm going to go with Russell Gage from Atlanta, going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's had 32 targets in the last 4 weeks, so he's in the game plan. They're probably going to throw it 40-plus times this week. So I think he's a good bet to get a chunk of yards for you, and who knows, maybe he'll sneak into the end zone.
Okay, wait, before we move on, Casey, I need to ask you this. Should I immediately cut somebody in my league to pick up Gage and start him? Should I cut Kiki Kuti for Russell Gage?
Ooh, that's a tough one because I kind of like the Houston Texans this week too. So I don't know if I'd say I'd definitely cut him, but I think Gage is probably a lock for more receptions. I'm not sure if he'll get in the end zone though, and QT tends to be a little bit better there.
All right, thank you for that. And Lauren, who do you have this week?
Guys, I'm going to ride Gus the Bus Edwards this week.
Ooh,
I know Dobbins is the lead. I know Dobbins will be the lead back in this game, but we're talking about running against Jacksonville, right? A team who loves to give fantasy points away to opposing running backs. They just can't help it. And I think that there's enough enough meat on this fantasy bone, should I say, for both Dobbins and Edwards
like
to
fantasy
eat.
Meat.
Fantasy meat. What are we
this
talking
is getting
about
racy.
here? This is a family-friendly, right? So I think that they both will do well, but I like Edwards this week. He's played pretty well in the past 3 games. He's either scored a touchdown or rushed for over 100 yards. I like those numbers normally. I like them even more when he's facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm riding the bus this week.
I think that's a great pick. That he was one of the ones I had in mind. The other running back I had in mind was Leonard Fournette, who's ranked 40th, but Ronald Jones is out this week, so he could have a good week, but I'm not going with him. I'm going with Chase Claypool, the number 30 receiver. He's playing against Ross's Bengals. Nothing against you, Ross, or your Bengals, but I just feel a Chase Claypool week is coming. Now, we're going to bring in Fantasy Pros expert Andrew Seifter to talk about how he lost in the Buffalo Bills wide receiver rivalry. He's going to claim that he won because he got more yardage or something like that. That would be the kind of thing that he would do. I'm going to predict it now.
Actually, Dan, I was really planning to be gracious about this, but since you...
Of course he disagrees.
So not gracious about it. I will point out that Cole Beasley had 5 catches for 41 yards. Not very exciting, but he did have more targets than Gabriel Davis. He did have more catches than Gabriel Davis. He did have more yards than Gabriel Davis. So
0 touchdowns.
You got your touchdown. You got your touchdown. So I'll say that you won the week, but I think if we're looking at the WAR, I still think Cole Beasley is going to be better than Gabriel Davis the rest of the season.
Well, that wasn't the argument. I'll give you that.
Wasn't what we talked about
this week.
In fantasy points, Dan's the winner. Sorry, Andrew.
Thank you, Ross the boss.
That's fine. In fantasy point, although in PPR he only outscored him by a point. For the record,
you still lost. Dan's the winner.
Still won.
Keep going.
All right,
who's your
Andrew,
pick?
who's your pick? Can you beat Chase Claypool this week?
I think Chase Claypool is way overrated, so I think that pick is terrible, actually. But I'm going to go with your other guy you mentioned instead, Leonard Fournette. That pick wasn't terrible. I think Leonard Fournette is going to step right into that Ronald Jones role. He was a healthy scratch last week, so I think some people are afraid of him because of that, and LaShawn McCoy was active over him, but I think LaShawn McCoy plays a different role in that offense. He's the pass catching back. Bruce Arians felt he could do a better job in that role than Fournette could, so that's why he was active and Fournette wasn't. They have a tough matchup against Atlanta. That's a really good run defense, actually. But I still just think if you look at that role, I mean, Ronald Jones was 4th in the league in rushing yards. He's got 900 rushing yards this year, and he's the RB13 on the season. And I think that that's more about the role than about the talent gap between Jones and Fournette. So I think Fournette I think he'll move up a little bit more as some of the writers update their rankings to show that, he's going to be the starter there. But I think he definitely deserves to be a top 20 running back this week.
Well, thank you for popping on, Andrew. I'm sorry for busting your chops, even though I think you would have said the exact same thing, minus the gracious argument. Okay, we'll see how you did, and I did, and everybody else did next week. And fans out there, we want to hear from you. Which one of us made picks that you thought were helpful or completely ridiculous? Let's put it in the comments. If you are new to our channel, please click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and you won't miss a thing. Thank you for joining us.
Lying with a blanket over my head, she asked if she could see who was under the blanket with me. I said, you don't want to find. It is Hideki Matsui in my